Hey guys, welcome to Worth the Spin. I'm your substitute host for this episode, Jack. Today we're going to talk about Sir Richard Starkey. That's right, or you probably know him as Ringo Starr. So here's the deal. So Ringo has a new album. I haven't got it yet. I've heard one song off of it. That's all I've managed to hear, and that's fine. It's just touted as his first country album. Well, really, it's his second country album, but I am looking forward to listening to it. It's a local shop that I usually get them from doesn't have it in stock. Snow issues, but the CD came in. So I'm waiting for that to show up. If it doesn't come in another week, I'm just going to go and do the thing. I really don't like doing that most, and that's ordering it online. But no, the bigger shops or smaller shops that are in my area have this album. So I'm confused by that because they all toot how they are vinyl lovers and they get the new releases and stuff in, and then this comes out and nobody's like, hey, we didn't really order any of it. We didn't think there was any demand. So that comment led me to, that comment, some videos I've seen recently when I tried to watch some videos related to the new album. Comments that I've heard that Ringo's music's really irrelevant and nobody really likes it. It's his first number one album since 1973's Ringo, and that most of his other catalogs just unlistenable. And I thought, man, that's crazy because I've been listening to it for years. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the Beatles, and when I say I'm a fan of the Beatles, I mean these four guys together. I really enjoy their music, and I love to listen to it. And these four guys singly, I really love their music, and I enjoy listening to it. So, and I think that's the essence of a fan. You don't love everything somebody does, but you do like aspects of it. Paul McCartney. How many bad Paul McCartney albums are there? I'll tell you one right off the bat. Press. Do not like that album. Cannot stand Press. I've listened to it when it originally came out. I'm like, ooh, this is bad. I listened to it again 2 years ago. Went, ooh, this is bad. I listened to it this morning before I started. I was going to do this video on Ringo, and ooh, yeah, it's bad. I don't even like Press, the one song that was released this thing. I'm not really crazy about that. Sorry, Paul. Don't like that album. And I have tried, and I've had that experience with multiple albums. There's albums that I've listened to when they originally came out, and I'm like, man, these things are bad, and I don't really care for them. And then I've listened to them again down the road years later, and I've tried it again and just see, and I've listened to them like, wow, this is really good. I don't know what I didn't like about it. And then there are albums that I've gone to our local record store and I found it there used, and I'm like, wow, I love this album. I remember listening to this when it came out. This is a great album, man. And I've gotten and brought it home and listened to them like, whoa, what is this? I don't recall any of these songs sounding like crap. And it's just kind of the way it is. So sometimes you grow into things and taste changes. You grow into things and you grow out of things. I grow out of my clothes. Nothing you can do about that. I'm working on it. But anyway, case in point, when I was young, you love liver and onions. Who don't love a big piece of liver and onions? Not no more. I loved it when I was younger. Used to eat all the time. My mom ate it for years. And man, that's the greatest stuff ever. Now, not so much. So let's move on to what we're here for. Maybe I'll start a food channel down the road. We're going to talk about Ringo. And I'm not going to do all of Ringo's catalog, but I'm going to do a chunk of it. And I like to keep these videos at a certain length. And the chunk I want to do is the 70s, early 80s. Because I love the Ringo's music and listened to it really avidly up till Bad Boy. Bad Boy came out in 83, and I was like, oh man, I just really don't care for this album. And then after that, Lifey Got Lifey, and then I'd hear a couple songs of something new that came out. I'm like, nah, I'm just not buying that album. I don't like that song. And I got away from it. So I really never really listened to a lot of his more 90s stuff because I was like, I don't really care for it. Even though I hadn't heard more than maybe a song or two off of it. So we'll talk about those later. But for right now, I want to talk about the stuff that I know that I love, that I've listened to death. And just because they're good. Not everybody thinks they're good. And I've seen videos of Beatle fans, and they're like, yeah, I love the Beatles, love everything they do. What? Ringo Starr? He doesn't have any valuable albums. You got Ringo, that's about it. I don't care for anything else. It's not really good. I like his music just as much as I like any of the other Beatles music. That's part of being a fan. You know, your heroes aren't going to always make um, multi-billion-dollar selling albums. Sometimes they're going to make, copies that sell 3-4 copies, and but there's something good on every one of them. I heard a guy one time, and it was on a YouTube video, and he was talking about that, about listening to things, and like, I would listen to something or watch this movie, and only 3 or 4 people, I find that 3 or 4 people were watching it and listening to it, and it's like, it's weird. It's so good. I think it's like the best thing that they've ever done, and everybody else is just automatically hating on it, and that it's horrible. And that's where you get your cult favorite movies and stuff from. We have movies that come out years ago, and they come out and they're a dud. 10 people watch them, nobody cares. It just kind of disappears, and then all of a sudden, 15 years down the road, somebody watches it and they're posting, wow, this is the best movie I've ever seen. I don't know how I haven't seen this movie before. You've got to watch this movie. Next thing you know, half the world's watching it, and now it's a cult phenomenon. They're like, this movie is fantastic. How was it not a big hit at the theater? So those kind of things kind of happen. So we're going to talk about some Ringo. Love some Ringo. First one we're going to talk about is Sentimental Journey. This is my copy of Sentimental Journey. And Ringo made this album for his mom, and I think that is a really sweet gesture to be a huge big star like that, and say, this is probably not going to be a big a hit with the fans, but this is for my mother, and I think that's an awesome gesture. Front cover has Ringo's home on it, which is awesome because I got to see Ringo's home. Didn't get to walk up to it or anything like that, but I got to see it from the outside from a bus, and it's really cool. And it doesn't look like this now. It's all painted like psychedelic and arty type stuff, but it's still really cool. I have the first pressing Apple of that, and I love this album. I've re-listened to all of my Ringo Starr since the new album came out, because I didn't want to go on here and say, man, I think this is a great album, and then listen to it then later, whoa, I said that was a great album. It was not. So I've re-listened to all of this in the past week to verify that this stuff is great. And this stuff is great. This is some great stuff on here. You may not be a fan of Carl Porter and stuff like that, but I love a lot of the songs that's on here. Now, some of these songs, would I listen to Frank Sinatra and stuff like that if Ringo wasn't doing it? Probably not. Oh, I probably wouldn't. I don't. Nothing against any, Frank Sinatra or anybody, but I don't really listen to that kind of music. But Ringo did it, so I'll listen to it, and I like his version. It's like some people will hear versions of Beatles songs and other people do and go, "That's great. That's better than the original." Those people obviously had head trauma and have never gotten help for it. But it does happen that way. So I think Sentimental Journey is a great album. I love this album, and I think it's one that more people should. If you're a Beatles fan, dig this out of your collection. Don't just use it as filler. I don't buy albums. This is a filler album. Now my collection's complete. I don't do that. If it's not good, I'm not going to listen to it. I'm not going to keep it. It's taking up space I need for stuff that I really love. So take this out of your collection and re-listen to it. And if you don't have it, then do your streaming thing you guys like to do, or go out and find this album. It's not that expensive, and take it home and listen to it. You don't have to listen to it on vinyl. It sounds better if you do, but that's my opinion. Next up, we're going to talk about Buku's of Blues, and this was the first Ringo Starr country album. And I love this album. I think this is a fantastic album. This has got some great stuff on there. Let's see, front cover of it. And it is a gatefold. Ringo does a lot of gatefolds. And real quick, this is the inside. You got some lyrics, some photos, and Apple label. Gotta love that. So this has got some great. I love this stuff, man. This is some of the best stuff I've ever heard Ringo do on here. Buku's of Blues is my favorite. I love that song to death. You got $15 Draw. Oh, that's good, man. It's such good stuff. Women and Loud Happy Songs. Fantastic song. Loser's Lounge. Fastest growing heartache in the West. Guys, if you're not listening to this in years, listen to this again. This is a fantastic Ringo album. This is great stuff. And again, this was another one like Sentimental Journey. It was a big selling album when it first came out. It wasn't a number one hit. You know, it didn't sell 100 million copies, but it sold because it's a good song. It's covers, but it doesn't matter. Hey, Beatles did covers, you know, and it's good. And again, it's one that some of these songs, if I heard done by the original artist, I probably wouldn't really, it's okay, whatever, you know. But some artists do it differently, and I like the way Ringo does those songs, and I just love that album. I love it to death. And here's the one I don't have to tell you about because this is his other number one. It's his first number one album, 50 years ago it was. And, you know, what can you say? It was almost a Beatles reunion. It was just a hair short of a Beatles reunion in 73. So that on its own is just incredible. And so many of these songs, you know, and that was one of the things too, you know, even at the breakup and the hard feelings and stuff, you know, the guys all pulled together and it gave Ringo songs and helped Ringo on his albums, you know. So a lot of Ringo albums that John wrote this song, Paul wrote that song, George wrote that song, George played on it, John played on it, you know. There's a lot of great stuff on these Ringo albums. So if you're just going, yeah, I've heard about that, I don't think they're really any good, I hear they're not good, and you're gypping yourself out of some good music. So this is Ringo. Like I said, it doesn't need any introductions because it's, you know, this is the inside. It's kind of a waste of a gatefold. I've always heard how expensive it was back then in the 60s and 70s to produce gatefold covers. So I'm a little confused that the choice for this one is just stars on the inside. But it's sold enough to make up for that, I guess. You know, and this has got all kinds of great stuff on there. I think probably my favorites, probably Oh My, 6 O'Clock, Paul's song. Photograph, obviously. I love this is a great album. Year 16 is probably not my most favorite song. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of that song. It's just kind of always been kind of a little bit of a weird, creepy kind of song to me. I don't think, you know, unless you're 16, I don't think you should be singing a song about 16. I don't know. It's just me. But hey, this is a great album. Nobody's gonna deny it. Nobody's gonna watch it to say, yeah, that one sucked. Because it was great. This is a great album, man. It's fantastic. And it was too, historically, it was so close to a Beatles reunion. It's not even funny. Goodnight Vienna. Love Goodnight Vienna. And I love the picture from the day the earth stood still. I think this is always fantastic. It's one of the things that drew me to this album when I first started buying Beatles albums back in the early 80s was just this, because I loved that movie. And I thought, man, that's really cool. I don't remember Ringo being in it, but, you know, of course he wasn't. But I think it's really cool. It's got great stuff. It's got the No No song on there. One of my all-time favorites. How can you not like the No No song? Goodnight Vienna, fantastic song. You got Husbands and Wives, Snookeroo. Dude, this is just full of great stuff. You know, if it's something you haven't listened to, you need to listen again. And not just for No No song. This has got great stuff on here. I think Ringo does a fantastic job on it. Not a big hit. Didn't do well in the charts and stuff, but you know what? I think this is a fantastic record. It's an Apple one, but it's got his own personal little label. I like when they started doing replacing the apples with the custom labels. I always thought that was really cool when they did that. All right, so now we move on to kind of a, you know, it's a great. So if you know, you love this one. If you're a hits guy, you love this one because it's all it is, and it's just, you know, blast from the past, just Ringo's greatest hits. And it's cool because I'm not a fan of greatest hits albums per se or live albums, but when, like with the Beatles, you know, even in their solo careers, you got these songs that they released that were just singles and not on other albums. It just makes it easier to collect them and have them all in one place and not keep getting up and flipping 45s on the turntable all day long. So, you know, all the hits are on here. And so it was a fantastic album, of course. Nobody would deny that. All right, next one up. So this one here, I'm not going to say the name because I don't say it right. I don't know a lot of people who do say it right. And I don't even think I've heard it produced correctly on the Beatles channel. So this is it's a weird name. It's Ringo's Retro Groove Rover. That's Jack version. So I don't know. But this is another good one. Got Paul McCartney contributed a song on here. John contributed a song on here. I love this album to death. So if you know how to say the name, this is the one I'm talking about. And this is a fantastic Ringo album from 1976. I love this album. It's great. I love this cover. I think it's really cool with the little monocle thing because you used to get those out of Cracker Jacks and stuff. So and play with those. So that's pretty cool. Again, another gatefold. And you got all these pictures. Hope you got a good look at so you got to see it. So yeah, that was pretty good. I love it. I think Dose of Rock and Roll. Man, I wish I could sing. Hey Baby, Pure Gold. That's Paul's contribution. Crying. Oh man, You Don't Know Me at All. This is just I love this, and I love it. Ends with Spooky Wilderness, which is like a little, I don't know, it's like a minute, 10-second thing or something, and that's how the album ends. And I think it's just funny. I love this. I've always loved this. I think it's a great album, and I think if you haven't taken this out of your Ringo collection, stop using it as a filler and listen to it. Listen to it objectively. Don't just this isn't gonna be any good. I'll check it out. Listen, put it on. Let me see if this is worth what that guy talked about or not. And I think you're gonna find out it is. It's a great song. Yeah, Ringo doesn't write a lot of his own material, but that's okay. Doesn't matter. Some of your biggest stars that are running around now getting awards and selling tons of records don't write their own music. Elvis didn't write his own music for the most part. So you can't judge anybody by that. I still think this is a fantastic album. I love this album. It's one of my top favorite ones. And, it's something I wish he'd play some of these songs when he's with his all-star band. But, and as far as not liking something and then listening to it later on going, man, it's not as bad as I thought. That brings us to Ringo the Fourth. This one right here. Not crazy about the cover. And this is where we're on Atlantic. And I love this album. I think this is great. Again, a lot of stuff is done by other artists. When I first originally heard it, I was like, man, I don't like this album at all. I can't find any songs on here I like, And it just sat there, and then, 20 years later, I've listened to it again, and I was like, wow, this is better than I remember it. I don't know why I didn't like this album more. And when I listened to it again, this past week, I'm like, yeah, this is still good. It's got good stuff on here. I love the stuff that's on here. So, check it out again. If it's in your collection, it's just sitting there. If you haven't got it, then get it. Some of these Ringo albums, you can get them pretty cheap. You can get first pressings in great condition pretty cheap because, nobody really wants them. And I don't know why, if you're a Beatles fan, why you wouldn't want to own all of their stuff and listen to it and enjoy it. But I think it's a great album. I love it, man. All right. One of my top favorites, and this is one that's a lot of people, man, I talk to are like, oh, it's horrible. There's nothing on it. It's horrible. I can't even use it as a coaster for my drink. This is a great album. I love this album. There was a special for it. I've never seen a special that aired. I'd like to see it. I made a couple attempts to look it up on YouTube, and the right thing then came up. And then, parts of it came up, and then I just kind of got busy with life and just got away from it. But this is one of my top favorite Ringo Starr albums. It's from '78. I love this album. I think this is great. From the moment I found this album and listened to it, I was like, man, that's great. It's all personal taste, of course, but again, I think this is one, if you've left it in your collection and you're not listening to it, it's just filler, take it out and listen to it. Do it objectively. I'm going to listen to this and I'm going to find a song on this album I love. And I think you're going to find more than one. Man, I love this album. I don't know. I just love this album, man. So it is Bad Boy. And I love the song Bad Boy. It's not the one the Beatles did. It's a completely different Bad Boy song. Monkey See and Monkey Do. I love it, man. I love that song. Bad Boy is a fantastic song. I love that. Who Needs a Heart? Lipstick traces, lipstick traces on a cigarette. Oh, I love it, man. It's great. I think it's great, and I applaud Ringo for doing stuff like this. You know, he didn't like do. I'm going to do what pleases the public only. He's like what I like too. And this is something that, you know, is stuff that he liked, and I want to do it because I like these songs. And Ringo, I like these songs. So, again, you know, I think this is the one that you really need to take back out and check it out, guys. This is a great album. I remember all of this. This is, you know, this came out after John passed, and I think this is great. Again, you know, you got Paul on here, you got George on here, Harry Nilsson's on here. I think Paul did a couple songs on here. And this was not a big hit, but I loved it, and I loved the goofy video, and I love the cop outfit that he wore, and you know, I think this is a good album. I do, man. A lot of people they hate it. I don't know. I love it. So let's Stop and Smell the Roses from '81. And I remember him doing the TV interviews on it and stuff. You know, Private Property, Paul McCartney. You know, Rack My Brain. Oh, I love Rack My Brain. Drum Into My Madness. Guys, this is great stuff. It really is. So if you're one of those Ringo stars, like Ringo has no good music, listen to it. Take it out. Listen to it. This is a great, great album. I love this album so much. I always have loved it. And I think it's a fantastic attempt. I really do. So the last one that we're going to talk about, because I don't want to get too long with a ton of everything that he's done. I'm going to do another video later with the other ones. I'm not as big a fan of the 90s stuff. And I'm not saying it's bad and I don't like it, but I'm just not as big a fan of the stuff they did in the 90s as I am the 70s and early 80s. That was, to me, the most productive years. To me, the 70s and about the middle of the 80s was the most productive years for the Beatles as far as single solo material, I think. And I think a lot of it after that, like Paul McCartney, a lot of his 90s stuff, you know, it's good, but I don't really like it like I did the 70s and the early 80s stuff. That's just my choice, you know. I'm just not as big a fan of it. But these are the ones that I really do love. And I think that they're underrated, and I think people should really give them a listen again and see what it is that they've just got stuffed in their collections and that they're not listening to. And this was one that came out, and I remember buying it, and I brought it home and I listened to it. I'm like, whoa, hey, I'm not listening to that again, you know. But and I didn't for a long time, for years. Now it was old wave. Yeah, I'm familiar with it. I don't care for it. But I listened to it later on. It was fantastic. Then it came out with a record store day one for it a few years ago, and I got that. I'm like, wow, yeah, man, why didn't I like this album more? This is good. It's not great, but it's good. It's really good. I like it. You know, I probably liked it maybe this much when it first came out, and now I like it about this much. So, you know, it's not a full, but it's good. I like it. I think it's very good. And I don't have the original pressing. It's hard to find it. And this is one of his ones that are really up there in value because there was just not very many sold. So it's not that many copies floating around. So this is a record store day one from a few years ago. But yeah, I like this album. This is really good. This is Ringo Old Wave. You know, and I think probably the best song here is In My Car. She's About a Mover. That's really good. Joe Walsh has a song on here. Alibi, that's pretty good. I don't remember what else is on there. I've got it in on these little sleeves, so it's really hard to kind of see what there is, you know. But this is a good album. I like it more than what I did. So if this one's in your collection, I think you need to dig this out and listen to it again too. And don't be so harsh on Ringo. He's got great music. I think he does. You just got to listen to the albums and you'll find the great songs. I think it's great stuff, you know. And I haven't heard the new one. I just know that it's number one now and like almost number one right out of the gate. And maybe it's that whole switching to the country thing. Maybe, you know, 'cause a lot of Ringo Buku's of Blues, he has a better voice. His range is better, unlike Buku's of Blues and stuff, than some of this other stuff. So maybe country is more of his thing. He's always been a big country fan. Maybe he should have done more country albums in his career. Maybe they've been bigger hits. I don't know. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Are these worth your spend? Every one of these records, every one of these guys, look at them. Look at Ringo Starr. All these are worth the spin. They're worth your time. You're in a record store and you don't have it, and I've heard this is crap. Get it. You know, $10. Get it. I'm telling you, $10. Sentimental Journey. Oh, it's a great album. You know, and albums they're worth what they're worth to you. Yeah, I've watched a video of a guy lately on YouTube. He's talking about, oh, here's my most 10 valuable albums. Da, da, da. Oh, you know what? Here's one of my most valuable 100 albums. Why? Because I love this album. I don't know what I paid for that. Probably, I don't know, $10 maybe. That's what I usually seen it go for. Maybe $10. I don't know. It's a great album. If it was 20 and I didn't own it, I'd pay 20 for it because it's worth that to me. And if down the road in 10 years it's only worth like $2, which is probably what it's worth right now, it would still be worth, you know, the 10 I paid for it because it's worth it to me. So things are worth what they're worth to you. And I don't buy stuff for down the road I can sell it and make this off of it. I buy it because it's something I enjoy. And just throwing a little soapbox in there. That video kind of irked me a little bit because it's kind of basing his collection on what Discogs says his albums are worth. And even though I do use Discogs like everyone else, because you kind of have to, your hands are, you know, as far as information, hands are kind of tied. It's one of the main things you got to use. You know, I find a lot of flaws in the Discogs. I'm off my box now. Sorry, I'm off of it. Ringo Starr, great albums, just great albums, man. So if you don't have this stuff, man, Bukus of Blues, guys, get this album. Oh, man, I love Bukus of Blues. And Ringo, yeah, it's great. I'm not going to overly promote it because everybody loves it to death. So, you know, Bad Boy. I love Bad Boy. Oh, I love the songs on Bad Boy. The old lounge, Dean Martin type stuff, you know, where they'd sit in the lounge back in the 50s, you know, with the cigarette and the martini and listen to you know, the singer on the stage. And man, it's just, you know, it's great. And it makes me, some of the songs on here, they kind of make me, they have that feel, you know. I feel like, you know, I could be in a lounge back in the 50s, you know, and these guys up there, you know, Dean Martin and that, and the crooners, you know, they're doing it, little baby, you know, and the girl's like, ah, you know. But it's great music. I love Ringo. I love Ringo's solo stuff. And I love his stuff in the 90s. Don't get me wrong. I do, you know, 2000 stuff. But I don't think it's not as entertaining to me as this stuff, as the 70s and the early 80s. So, again, you know, thanks for watching. Hey, give this, I got fancy graphics. Hang on. Sorry. I have fancy graphics. So if you like this video, hey, give it a thumbs up. I like that. That's a waste of money. Anyway, buy these albums. They're fantastic. Thanks for watching. And, hey, stick with vinyl. It's better than CDs, and it's better than silly downloads. Personal opinion. Thanks for watching, guys.